So, what if the world you experience every single day isn't just something that happens to you, but something that is actively being built by you? Today, we're diving deep into a pretty radical idea that your outer reality is a direct mirror of your inner world. We're going to connect some ancient philosophy with modern psychology and even some super practical business strategy to hand you the blueprint for becoming the architect of your own life. Our journey really kicks off with this incredible quote from the Kybalion. This is a foundational text from an ancient school of thought called Hermeticism, which was all about understanding the nature of reality. It introduces this idea of mental transmutation, basically the notion that we can change our mental states, just like ancient alchemists wanted to turn lead into gold. This one idea, it's the key that unlocks everything else we're going to talk about. So here's our game plan. We'll start with this big idea that the universe is mental. Then we'll explore something called the principle of polarity. From there, we'll get into the practical stuff, the art of transmutation, see how that helps you forge your reality. And finally, we'll look at the ultimate expression of all this, the Grand Slam offer. All right, first up, let's tackle the core idea. Every single thing that gets created, every achievement, it's actually built twice. First, it exists as a blueprint in the mind, and only then does it show up in the outside world. So let's take a closer look at that internal blueprint. The Kybalion calls this the principle of mentalism. It's the idea that, on the most fundamental level, reality is made of mind stuff. I mean, just stop and think about that for a second. If the entire universe is a mental creation, then the world that you experience day to day has to be profoundly shaped by your mind. And you know what's wild? This ancient philosophy is perfectly mirrored in modern psychology. Dr. Maxwell Maltz's classic Psycho-Cybernetics talks about our self-image as the master program that's running our lives. It's this mental picture we've built from all our past beliefs. But here's the game-changing part. If we built that image, that means we also have the power to consciously rebuild it. Okay, so if reality starts in the mind, how do we start to map out our different mental states? Well, this brings us to the principle of polarity. And what it reveals is that our motivations basically exist on a spectrum. And that spectrum is anchored by two really powerful archetypes, the creator and the secondhander. So the Hermetic principle of polarity says that everything has an opposite. But here's the twist. Opposites aren't actually totally different things. They're just two extremes of the same thing, only differing in degree. Think about it. Hot and cold aren't two separate phenomena. They're both just different degrees of temperature. And the same thing applies to love and hate, or courage and fear. Ayn Rand's novel, The Fountainhead, gives us the perfect examples of these two poles. On one end, you have Howard Roark, the creator. His motivation is purely internal. He doesn't care what anyone else thinks. He builds from his own vision. And on the other end, you have Peter Keating, the secondhander. His entire life, his whole sense of self, is just a reflection of what other people think of him. Now, this is really important. This isn't about slopping labels on people or calling someone good or bad. Roark and Keating are just the extreme ends of a spectrum that we all live on. We all have moments where we're creators, and we all have moments where we act like secondhanders. The real art, the mental alchemy we're talking about, is learning how to consciously shift your position along that spectrum. Which, of course, brings us to the most practical question of all. How do you actually do it? How do you consciously shift your own polarity from, say, fear to courage, or from a secondhander's mindset to a creator's? The principle is super clear. If you want to change your environment, your outer world, you first have to master changing your internal polarity. This is the actual practice of mental transmutation, and it goes way deeper than just thinking positive. It's about fundamentally shifting your entire mental state. So how's it done? Well, Psycho-Cybernetics gives us a really clear 3-step mental workout. Step 1, isolate yourself and relax for about 30 minutes. Step 2, visualize your ideal self. And don't just think about it, I mean really feel what it's like to be that person. And step 3, practice. Every single day. That consistency is what actually rewires your self-image and shifts your default polarity. So let's just pause here for a second and ask a tough question. What is the self-image that you are currently projecting out into the world? Is it one of a creator, someone who acts from a place of internal vision and value? Or is it maybe one of a second-hander, someone who's mostly just reacting to the world and looking for approval? Being honest with yourself here is the real starting point for your own mental transmutation. Okay, so we've covered the internal work. Now let's connect that inner shift to real, tangible, see it in your bank account kind of results. And here's the absolute crucial point. This isn't just about feeling better. A fundamental change in your self-image will inevitably, automatically change your actions. When you start to truly see yourself as a creator, as someone who builds value from an internal vision, you stop waiting for permission and you just start doing. You start building. Take a look at this number, $239,000. This isn't just some abstract theory. According to the book $100 Million Offers, this was the average revenue increase for businesses that applied a very specific framework. That's a concrete, external result that all started with an internal shift in perspective. That number is the direct result of creating what the author calls a grand slam offer. And a truly great offer isn't just some clever marketing trick. No, it's the ultimate external expression of a creator's mindset. It's you confidently declaring the value you can provide to the world. And that confidence comes from a powerful internal self-image. And this brings everything full circle, doesn't it? The goal of this whole process, from mentalism to transmutation, isn't just to think differently. It's to do differently. It's like the heroes in Atlas Shrugged. The point is to take your internal vision and forge it into reality, to build things of immense value, and in doing so, to actually bend the world to that vision. All right, let's get to the grand finale. Let's look at the pinnacle of this process. The Grand Slam offer from Alex Hormozy's book is a perfect case study for how a mastered internal world can create an absolutely irresistible external reality. So what's the recipe for an offer people can't say no to? Well, it's not magic, it's just a deep understanding of human psychology. You use scarcity and urgency to tap into our fundamental desires. You layer on bonuses to make the perceived value go through the roof. And then you lock it all in with guarantees that completely remove any risk for the customer. See, it's not about tricking people. It's about confidently applying a deep understanding of what makes us tick. This quote from Naval Ravikant just nails the psychology at play here. Scarcity works so well because desire is literally rooted in not having something. A powerful offer gets that. And it frames the solution not just as some product, but as the fulfillment of that deep, nagging desire.
And then you have something like a better than money-back guarantee. Now think about what this really is. It's way more than a refund policy. It's a statement of supreme confidence. It says, I am so certain in the value I create that I will literally guarantee your transformation. This is the ultimate expression of the creator's mindset, having the absolute confidence to promise and deliver a specific result.
And there you have it, the whole journey. It starts with that deep internal shift, understanding that your universe is mental. From there, you learn the art of transmuting your own polarity, shifting from a reactive state to a creative one. And finally, you forge that powerful inner vision into an external reality so compelling and so valuable that other people just can't resist it. So in the end, all the philosophy, all the strategy, it really just boils down to this. The power to change your mind is an art, and like any art, it requires practice. The real question isn't whether it's possible for you to learn it. The only question is whether you have the courage to actually apply it. Thanks for tuning in.